This is Brother Johnny of the 19 Report out of Manning, South Carolina. Sincerely thanking everyone for tuning in. I wanted to chime in a little bit on the situation that is occurring, and hopefully it won't be swept under the rug, about Sandra Bland, the lady who said that she received a calling from God to speak with the youth, and unfortunately suffered from what I would call an untimely death. I wanted to touch on some points in this case, in this situation with Miss Bland, that may not be touched upon, and I fear that again we will go into a situation where the police department is sued, money is distributed, and then the case of Sandra is paid off and is forgotten. You could immediately see that her love for God was very and is very, very strong. You could immediately tell by her presence on her Facebook page that the glow in her eyes made her to believe that what she was doing was going to prove to be beneficial. And I want to read something from a quote from one of her posts. She says, "We sit out here and talk about, oh, we need the next so-and-so and this and that. No, we don't. No, you don't. Start in your own home. Start with you. You start being that person that wants to make that change," she added. "I'm here to change history. I'm ready to do what I need to do for this next generation. It's time. It's time for me to do God's work at the end of the day." These words should burn into the minds of the adults. I have been pleading with some ministers in Manning, South Carolina, to start to target their messages to the children. And my purpose for doing that is because if you understand biblical scripture correctly, you will see that the children of Israel were the ones that God wanted to target and wanted to make it to the promised land. But in the case of Miss Sandra Bland, I want people to understand just this one very important point. And I have to bring it up. I've spoken on it many different times, but I have to bring it up in this particular case. And that is depression. But I'm going to go further and say spiritual depression. And spiritual depression I define as a person who knows that they've been called by God to do a thing. And you're so excited that you've been called, and you're so excited of the potential outcome of what you see visually can happen. And you pick up your faith in God and you run with it to tell the people the great message that you've been given. And you have committed yourself to God that you are going to do this regardless. And the people don't receive your message the way that you thought they should. Immediately you can fall into a deep depression. There has been a rise in 2015. From end of 2014 to 2015 of ministers, men, women of the cloth, committing suicide. Men, women of the cloth getting caught up in extramarital affairs to the point where they are spreading sexual diseases. And we can immediately contribute that to preachers who are just dirty preachers, dirty ministers, but a lot of times it's not that. We're talking about depression, spiritual depression. If you look at the pictures of Miss Sandra Bland, and I'm going to post those up, in the beginning of her mission, you could see the glow in her eyes. You could see the anticipation of the greatness of things to come. And she was on her way in the town that she was in to actually take on a new job in a school that she graduated from. She was a lettered woman. And in her words, she didn't incite any violence of any type towards the police. She was saying if there's any policemen who think that what's being done is wrong, they should speak up as well. Her mission was to encourage people to speak up against injustices, and not only speak up against it, but to do something about it. And to encourage the youth to understand their collective power to do something about it. Now, I've written down a few things because I don't like to ramble on. But in the category of spiritual depression, you have first on the list depression. And then you have a loneliness that occurs because the people who were once your friends, because you have to now make this drastic change in your behavior. Instead of them trying to understand and cope with who you are becoming, because you are becoming a man or woman of God, they begin to ostracize you. They don't want to hear what you have to say. They don't want to be associated with your mission. So you become lonely, very lonely. Lonely to the point of having to conversate with yourself. I'm speaking from a point of knowledge of this issue because I've been in this town all of my life. I left for a while and I came back, and I thought that the words of black power, I thought that the words of black unification, I thought that the words of unification of everyone under the basis of white folks know who they know who we are. Black folks know who we know who they are. And as a common consensus, we could come together with respect for each other. That's not what most people want. Not even the people of the cloth. Because I went to them first. And they rejected me as, you know, that crazy religion that you're in. You a Muslim, you're crazy. Yet they accept every single crook and thief and robber off the street who come to the church and come to the religious institutions with no intentions of changing who they are. But you accept them from 89 to 2015, they haven't changed a bit. But you still have the audacity to say that these people are saved and sanctified. Now, Mrs. Bland, lonely, doubtful. Why doubtful? Because even Christ was doubtful. As he hung on the cross, he asked God, why did you forsake me? As he had to go be tried by Satan in the mountain, he became very depressed. As he saw the money changes in the church, he became angry and went against what God would have commanded him to do and began to run the money changes out of the church. So when you are coming closer to God and the people closest to you don't understand your purpose, they back away from you and say you're different. Whereas if you are in society and doing what society is doing, you're okay. So you may have a woman, Miss Sandra Bland, lonely. As I said, preachers are committing suicide. Preachers are committing adultery. And it's not always because they just want to be nasty or go against God behind the curtain. It's because of the loneliness that is felt by people who are going higher in understanding, but the people around them are still on that same level and have no desire to leave it. So I was on a college campus one day, and I was sitting alone in the cafeteria, and a gentleman came up to me and he started talking about the way I looked, why my countenance was down. And I told him, man, this journey that I took on, I had no idea it would be this lonely. And he said, brother, you're going to be lonely because no one desires to go where you're going and do what you're doing. No one else was called to do that but you. He said, but when you make it to the top of the pyramid, your personal pyramid, you're going to look to your left and you're going to see more people who had a lonely journey. Those are your friends. You're going to look to the right, front, and back, and there will be people there. But as long as you're taking this journey, it has to be you, your heart, and God. I accepted the journey years ago, and you can't turn away from it. So Miss Sandra Bland couldn't turn away from it. And she said that she felt like she had a purpose in life. And here is what I wanted to get to. Sometimes God uses our life to allow us to be killed in order to teach a bigger lesson. A lot of people, if you are going to a club and the night you go to the club, you die. Well, you went to the club happy because you had no idea death was coming. But if you know that tonight I have to go to this club and I have to die, you won't be as happy to take that journey. So when I look at the pictures of Miss Bland, doing her journey, the smiles, the glow in her eyes. And if you look at the video where she was in an accident and the motorcycle rammed the back of her car and the gentleman flew over the windshield over the car, and she's doing this hysterical God felt video that she know God is real, because look at her car, look at her standing here talking to us, and the gentleman who flew over her roof was standing right beside her. And she was very spiritually filled with that message, crying and trying to get the words out. But when you look at the picture of her and her mugshot, you see death in her eyes. You don't see life in her eyes. Imagine this woman, female, and whoever took the video and all of the cars passing by, no one came to her aid. You know, we always got the people with the video camera, which is good because she talked about technology and being able to film things. But no one came to her aid, and she's asking the police officer, do you even care that you are slamming my head into the ground? Lonely. Becoming depressed. When she called her sister, she told her, I think my shoulder is broken. Now, she's in a cell. God knows what these people are saying to her. God only knows what she did to provoke them. But I have been in situations where I just simply got tired of the strong-arm tactics of authority here in Manning, South Carolina. On one occasion, a police officer passed me and slowed down in front of me. And I had the right to pass him back, so I did. But that I shouldn't have, because that gave him probable cause to stop me, and he did. When he couldn't find anything wrong with my vehicle, he asked for my license. I responded in a very aggressive way. What else you want from me? So he wasn't going to stop until he found something wrong with me or with my car. And he found on my license that I was supposed to wear glasses. I said I only have to wear glasses during the day, not at night. I mean during the night, not during the day. He wrote me a ticket. I went to court with a written statement from the eye doctor stating yes, he's correct. He only has to wear, because he has astigmatism, he only has to wear the glasses at night. And the judge, a black judge, authority again, told me straight up, you gonna pay something before you leave this courtroom. Did she kick the officer? We don't know. But the frustration that comes with the person who knows that we are not free, the depression that comes from preachers who constantly preach the word of God but see the congregation not changing, but yelling every Sunday. They're not changing. She can't get too aggressive with them for fear they will leave and they won't have a church. I read a book of psychology where a minister was one of the patients of a psychologist, and he told him every Sunday he's depressed. Why are you depressed? Because I know that what I'm saying is not the truth, but it's what the people want to hear. And you see a minister one week they're slim, next week they're obese or getting fat. This is the depression of a person like Sandra Bland, and she spoke about being depressed. She spoke about post-traumatic stress. Well, imagine getting your head slammed on the ground by two butchy police officers. Imagine possibly having your shoulder either dislocated or broken, and from what I understand, being in jail for 3 days. Could depression have come over her, and she saw clear enough that this fight is almost impossible? Because the people that I'm talking to are sending me, well, good job, preach on, but they're not saying what I want to hear to let me know that what I'm doing is benefiting the people. So in the Bible, when the messengers and prophets couldn't get to the people, God says, go and prophesy to the wind. Go and talk, and I'll take care of the rest. Miss Bland says that her life, she knows, was for a purpose. It is for a purpose indeed. If these officers are guilty of foul play, I pray that they are prosecuted to the farthest extent of the law. If it is suicide, I pray again that the people will look into what happened to Miss Bland and listen to what is being said by myself. I suffer from the same thing. Over 15 years, the 19 report, Groove 19 promotions, and trying to build something not only for myself, but trying to network with people and teach them what everything that God has given me. But all you run into are thieves and crooks who trying to take what you got, who trying to play you and take your understanding of what you've built by God's permission and use it for themselves. And when they can't do that, then because they have more people that listen to them, they talk about you and put a bad seed in the air about you when all your intentions are is to do what God told you to do and to be a true servant and say what God said for you to say and never deviate from that. And that is my life, as it is Sandra Bland's life. This is a difficult path to take. But when you give your word to God, you keep it until you die. And Miss Sandra Bland's life is a lesson in many things. We'll look into it and let the law handle the police brutality part. But I pray that everyone will keep vigilant as you did with the other cases and hold them accountable for every single thing that occurred in that prison. Because just as easy as it was her, it could very well be me. There's no doubt about it that there are internet cops who are constantly surveilling everything that is said, everything that is done, as if though we are the enemies. Meanwhile, the people who shouldn't even have guns in their hands are taking these guns and killing people when we've never been committed any crimes, and nor have our words been those words of a criminal. Yet they stay focused on us when the hate groups are growing. So I encourage everyone to be vigilant in this. Sandy speaks. Her heart was in the right place, and she was indeed, in my opinion, a child of God, based upon her words, based upon her actions. But in the fraction of a second, from the frustration of this world and this life, a person of God can be provoked to do anything. In the fraction of a second, a minister who has kept his word to God can be provoked and enticed to commit adultery, to commit homosexual activity, to do almost anything. So when the judgment comes, in the minds of the people, we have to use discernment and be fair to those who are given their life by God's permission. You wouldn't like Jesus Christ if you were among his time because of all he had to do, all he had to say. I pray that Miss Sandra Bland's spirit disperses into the atmosphere and goes into all of the children that her love caused her to become an advocate for truth was for. And I pray that the truth of what has occurred with her will come out. Again, this is Bro.Johnny of the 19 Report, and I want us to begin to focus more on depression, on loneliness, on the hurt and the doubt. And all of this is under a spiritual umbrella. You can't see it from the outside because people love being around me because I'm the life of the party. But as a friend of mine said in one of his songs, I must be on something or something is on me. Been around a million people and I'm still feeling lonely. And that is the way you feel when you have to take on this journey. You can't turn around because either you're going to answer to man or you're going to answer to God. I am terrified of God. Even though I am fearful of the man that I see in front of me, I am more terrified of the God I know that controls that man and me as well. I thank everyone for listening again. Stay tuned on Twitter and Facebook and any other site that you can for Miss Sandra Bland's life story to unfold itself. She believes that God had a purpose for her, and I believe it as well, because her words express a pain and her actions express the fact that she wasn't trying to destroy America or anything about it. She wanted everyone to be on a fair playing field, and she had to give her life for that. In the fraction of a second, we get angry, we get tired, we get frustrated, and we have no one to talk to. In my circle, I had people who felt sorry for me, but no one who believed in me. And that is a problem. So you have to stand on your own, manifest everything for yourself. You are in Groove 19 Studios, the 19 Report. Every single dime that I ever made went into this and a mobile unit because I believed in it. But it's lonely nonetheless, because I built this for the community to come into and express their views, just as Miss Sandra Bland was intended to build for the children to come in and express their views. I'll say this again. I told the people, and I suggested to many ministers in this town to focus on the youth, but they're steady trying to focus on the adults, because the adults are the ones with the money and keep the church going. I hope we will begin to learn from this. And Sandra Bland's life is like the life of Jesus Christ and every single prophet of the Bible and the Quran and any holy or religious scripture. She sacrificed her life for what she believed. She had no idea how long her life would last. But this was her time to go, and we want to know exactly what happened and why it happened. Because it will happen again, and it will continue to happen. This country is in an uproar, but people are doing it in a controlled manner. But it will begin to unleash itself in a way that you will not believe. The same God that spoke to Sandra Bland is the same God that speaks to all who are telling the truth. I thank you for listening. Stay tuned to the 19 Report. We will be talking about the AIDS epidemic and the HIV epidemic in South Carolina. When I put up the link about and the words about the Confederate flag, I just kept constantly getting hits and shares. But I noticed that when I put up the poster, the advertisement about AIDS and HIV, the sharing stopped. Well, we have an epidemic. And those who are walking around here with HIV, it's not like you're being condemned for that. You didn't ask for that. But shouldn't we be concerned about other people and their potential of contracting a disease that we carry within us like a time bomb? We want to talk about it. Brother Johnny, the 19 Report, thank you again.